Coming up on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
Here, that's actually the very first documented drama in snow goose hunting ever.
Go from sluice box to moose box.
Couldn't believe how big it was, and said a prayer over it, said our thanks.
This is the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, formerly Sporting Journal Radio, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. You guys remember about this time last year, Cory Loeffler told us a moose story on the podcast? Well,
he didn't give us time to answer.
Oh, that's kind of okay. Well, go ahead. Do you have an answer?
I remember him telling us moose hunting stories about early season, but yeah.
Okay, Dan, how about you?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. See why I didn't give you much time to answer. All right.
We waited for that.
Well, it's not a replay of last year. Cory Loeffler is going to tell us another successful moose hunting story coming up later in the show. It's a pretty good one. He's going to join us. He's from the DRC Call Company, living the life in Alaska. How jealous are you guys of him?
Very jealous.
Like I am. Dang. He gets to do some pretty cool things, and he's going to tell us. He's basically, I think Alaska tourism should put him on the payroll because he's going to probably cause a bunch of people to move to Alaska after this podcast.
I don't think tourism wants that, though, because if you move to Alaska, you're not necessarily spending tourism dollars in Alaska.
Yeah, but some of those tourism agencies are promote working and living in their area. So it's less about visiting and more about moving there. I don't know. Well, let's call him and ask him. Get him on the phone. Anyway, Cory's going to tell us about what he's been up to in Alaska, including a big velvet moose. Cool. Way cool. We'll also have some Northwest Angle information and some water. This is a really cool bit of information you can glean from the Lake of the Woods Tourism website that I didn't know about until today. We'll tell you what that is coming up later in the show. We got another filming tip for you. If you're going to be out filming waterfowl, we got a couple of tips for you that we will tell you coming up in just a little bit. But Dan, how about we should mention too that we started a little internet firestorm. Maybe that's not the right word for it, but a hot topic on the interwebs, and that's discussing when a 30-day season in Minnesota would take place, when a duck season, if it was only 30 days. What do you think that would look like? What do you think it should look like? Comment below, and maybe we'll give you some free stuff from the Fish Hunt Forever store. But we're going to go through some of the responses that we got on Facebook and Instagram, probably.
Yep.
We'll talk about that stuff coming up later in the show. But first, who are the sponsors this week, Dan?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this summer or winter at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. On X Hunt, see private landbounders, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with the code SJR20. Haybell Heights Campground and Resort, Fish Devils Lake. This fall or winter, learn more at haybellheights.com. Tasman Lake Lodge, catch world record lake trout and giant pike. It's Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Prairie Sports, when the new season's over, but you can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. And Trails End Outfitters, Trophy Bear, walleyes and whitetails in Saskatchewan. Visit trailsendoutfitters.com.
We do have some brand new hoodies in the store, so comment below and you could get one of the cool old school Fish Hunt Forever hoodies that match the Fundra. We'll tell you more about those and the hats coming up a little bit later. But last week we talked about early teal and a 30-day duck season. And have you guys been following along with the questions posed on the social medias?
Yeah, I have been because I posted it.
I've seen them.
Yeah. A couple of interesting things. First of all, let's just talk about what we think. If we had a 30-day duck season in Minnesota, David, did we talk about this last week when we'd want it to be?
Briefly, maybe.
I think we asked Drake Hurd about it, and they got his opinion, and that was it. We moved on to
so David,
bashing the NWT.
No, that's right.
I love late season, so
yeah,
I'd like to see a later season if that's a split or how that would work.
So say they wouldn't do a split. Say they do just straight 30 days. Like I was trying to figure this out, and just as an appeasement to all those early season hunters, because we have more of those, it seems like. Maybe like a mid-October to mid-November?
Yeah, mid-October. Yeah, that October 15th to 20th, somewhere in there.
And this would be for the southern half of the state. So northern half could be a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Dan, you got into the weeds a little bit more with your response.
I just said North Zone October 20th to November 19th, Central Zone October 30th to November 29th, South Zone November 7th to December 7th. I think the Central and South Zones could get pushed back a little bit later, but those are the safest bets just to guarantee you're still going to have huntable water at the end of there for most scenarios. Most of the scenarios you're probably going to have birds still around after the season closes still, but that gives you guys up north. My best hunting when I lived up north in the North Zone was November, whether it was divers on big water or mallards and honkers in fields. September was good, October was okay, November was the best. So you still want to hunt November. Central Zone, I think November is the best month in the entire state, so we want to capitalize on November as much as we can, in my opinion.
Some people will say they're not around big enough water for late season duck hunting.
Then scout harder.
Well, that's another topic we'll get into here in 1 second.
Sorry.
30-day discussion. Some of the notable comments that we've seen on social media, somebody suggested make sure we include MEA weekend, which is a valid request if you do 30-day season. So that's one thing to consider. So as much as I love November duck hunting and I want to see duck hunting around Thanksgiving, if you were to try to keep a 30-day season open at Thanksgiving, you're going to have a hard time keeping MEA weekend in there.
What if we moved deer season to MEA? Everyone wants to move the gun season out of the rut. What if we move gun season to MEA to make those people happy?
I don't think.
Now I just opened another can of worms.
For another podcast. Japers. One guy suggested let's not crowd the pheasant season, which I think is, I actually agree. And he said let's extend the pheasant season to January 31st. So if we're going to push back the waterfowl season, people can focus a little bit more on duck hunting in October and less about pheasant hunting. I think if you open pheasant second week in October, you're still going to get people to go pheasant hunting at the same time. But I do like the idea of pheasant hunting until the end of January. I like that idea. Somebody suggested having a split season, October 1st through the 15th, and then November 15th through the 30th. I like the split idea. I don't think they'll ever have the second split that late, unless just the southern zone. So if you guys, let me ask you guys this. If you wanted to do a split, 15 days and 15 days, David, when would you do it? Well, let's say for the southern half of the state.
9 and 21.
Well,
9
that's
days.
not a bad idea.
Catch 2 weekends the first 9 days.
When would that be?
Do it your 15th to the
of October,
24th, and then start at the 10th of November or something like that.
The only problem with that is I think you'd run into a waterfowl opener and a pheasant opener around the same time.
Probably, yeah.
And there's way too many governor's pheasant opener stuff, things like that. That would be tough to have them both on the same weekend. Although is
there a governor's duck opener?
I don't think so. No.
So why would that be a problem?
Just because a lot of people I think are going to be committed to an event or
the 40 media people.
I don't want to argue with you about the governor's pheasant opener.
I'm just curious why that'd be an issue.
I think having those two openers on the same weekend, whether it's the governor's opener or not, people are going to have their traditions. They're going to have a pheasant opener tradition. They're going to have a waterfowl tradition. It's going to be hard to do that on the same weekend. Personally, I wouldn't mind because pheasant hunting opening weekend is kind of tough a lot of times, especially this year because, David, how many crops are still going to be standing in the middle of October?
A lot.
Yeah. Pheasant hunting is going to be real, real tough. One of the best comments I thought, though, on our post on the Fish Hunt Forever Facebook page was, I like how there's not one comment on here saying that the current situation is the right one.
Well, the current situation isn't 30 days.
Right. So. Right. Well, I think that was also maybe they were commenting on the early teal season as well, too. Just how the waterfowl season is structured in general. A lot of people want to see November. Somebody said November 10th through December 10. Lots of comments about just depending on the weather. It's hard to pick, and that's the issue you run into every year. It's not like you can just change them based on the weather.
If only we could have a pick your day season.
Comment below your thoughts, and you could win some cool stuff to the Fish Hunt Forever store. No more of these hats, though. We're sold out of these hats. Sorry about it. But I should mention, we do have these hats still in the store.
It's probably manual focus.
Yep, I'm moving them back. So there you go. The blaze orange one. That's this one. Just in time.
He's colorblind.
I was looking at the reverse. I was looking at the picture. Anyway, so these are still available for now. There's only a few of these left, so get them before they're gone, and then we'll have to decide if we should do another order or not. Go to fishhuntforever.com and click on store. Lots of discussion about the early teal season as well, too. Join the discussion on Fish Hunt Forever on social media or comment below on our YouTube or Spotify, and you could be winning some cool stuff. Let's do a filming tip. It's brought to you by Trails and Outfitters, offering guided whitetail and black bear hunting in Saskatchewan on Tobin Lake. We got a film coming to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel from our whitetail hunt up there last fall. Do we have the filming tip?
Guess not.
All right, anyway. So, Dan, you went out and filmed a teal hunt in tall cattails the other day. We also filmed in a shortcut harvested wheat field, two completely different waterfowl situations and two different filming type situations. Going into your situation, filming in tall cattails, what's one thing you made sure that you were looking forward to, or one thing you made sure you had?
That I had?
Yeah. Or,
what is going on right now? Like gear-wise that I had? Or
just like your thought process going into that hunt?
Oh, well, I didn't really know what to expect because I hadn't been to this spot before. So it was all kind of winging it, really, to be completely honest with you. The biggest thing that I did that day that helped me, I guess, was, you want to have a wide aperture film. I like to have a wide aperture filming birds, especially teal, because they're quick. So I go to manual focus and I set my focal point to start like on the Mojo or on the Lucky Duck, the spinner out front, because I figured that's going to be a safe bet to where ducks were going to swing in. So if ducks all of a sudden quickly buzzed in and then are quickly raising the camera up, usually going to be right over the decoys, and hopefully those ducks are there, then you can adjust as necessary. But then as the sun came up, I was able to open the aperture up, because when it was first light, I had to have it pretty tight, otherwise pretty shallow depth of field. Otherwise I'd have to have the ISO cranked or the shutter speed incredibly slow, and that's just not going to work. So have to sacrifice a few things, and then as it got lighter, I was able to open up that aperture.
That is an important thing to think about, because I like to shoot with my shutter speed as fast as possible when I'm filming birds in flight, taking stills or filming them. But when it's early morning, honestly, duck hunting, filming ducks is one of the hardest things to do, because usually, half the time your best duck hunting action is before the sun comes up. And it's not like you can put a big spotlight on the slough. But the biggest thing I was worried about for you, Dan, when you went out to that hunt, is if you're going to be in standing water.
Because, yeah, and we weren't.
Because I was worried about the gear getting wet or having to set things down or dropping batteries in the water, things like that. So one thing to think about when you're out there going to be, if you're filming ducks over water, is practice changing batteries in your camera and having a pocket on your jacket where you're going to have fresh batteries, so that you don't have to get into your backpack. You don't have to have something floating, or you don't have to walk back to dry land to do all that. So have a system in place so you can change out batteries or make changes or do something over water with expensive equipment like that. All right, there is your filming tip of the show, courtesy of Trails and Outfitters here on Fish Hunt Forever podcast. Don't forget, you can check out our Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. Check out the new film that we put out last week. One thing that I did when I was filming that out of a dry field situation is I like to zoom in on a big flock that's coming in, and then as they get closer, I zoom out on it and try to go as wide as possible. And Dan, as we experienced with the way those snow geese were working, it was real hard to get them all on camera.
Yeah, I did the exact opposite of that. I kept it a wide shot most of the time just to try to get all those birds in frame so you could understand the mass of geese that was coming at you. Because I didn't want to zoom in on like the first 4, have them in focus, so someone was like, oh, there's only 4 coming. No, I wanted you to see the whole spin, the whole mass, and try to get as many of those birds in frame. You sacrifice a little bit of detail at distance when you do that.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it was almost one of those, like we were trying to show what it was like to be in the blind under a big spin like that. And that's what it looked like to the naked eye, right? I can't zoom in with my eyes. I wasn't watching with binoculars to see that group way up close. So it was almost like watching it with the naked eye. And I feel like I've heard from some people who watch YouTube videos, they like something like that. But and the other thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to have a zoom lens on the camera. I wasn't filming with a zoom lens. I had a 24-105, so I couldn't really zoom that much anyways. And I choose that lens so I can shoot in the blind, I can shoot out of the blind, I can shoot just about anything I want with that lens. I just don't get a far reach before birds get into the spread, but really I'm not usually too concerned with that.
So we went out of our way to try to put you in the blind with us in that film. It's called Poplar Grove Last Farm in Saskatchewan, but it's labeled as Best Waterfowl Hunt. I can't remember what we labeled. It's some stupid clickbait name on YouTube. Because you can't just name things on YouTube with...
It's really not even that clickbaity because it's accurate.
I know, but it's once in a lifetime waterfowl hunt film.
Clickbait when it's true.
I understand, but that's going to make you click on it more than saying Poplar Grove, the Lost Farm in Saskatchewan.
True.
So there you go. You have to label stuff the way people use YouTube. So go check it out. And we did a premiere with it, and we chatted live during the film, and we gave away some prizes. So Chris Baum, Marlis Carlson, and Jesse Warnke sent us a message. We drew you for prizes during the live chat. And watch for our next video coming to YouTube. If we do a premiere on it, Dan, we'll do more prizes like that.
Sure.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I liked it. All right, let's get into, let's go to Alaska with Cory Loeffler and talk moose. We'll talk penning for gold. Get your own gold. And more with Cory Loeffler when we come back. Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal win for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Cory Loeffler from the DRC Call Company joins us now on the show. Cory, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. How are you?
How's Alaska?
Amazing. Wouldn't change a thing. It's perfect up here.
Very jealous. Very jealous.
60, 55 degrees right now, probably. Dang. Something like that. Yeah. We're 3 hours behind you.
Can't believe you'd rather be in Alaska than lovely Minnesota. What a great place to be.
I mean, it's only been 88 degrees all week. Mosquitoes and ladybugs. Storms. And David, you were saying this morning when we were recording this, a couple inches of rain?
Yeah, a couple inches of rain today, and we're supposed to get more this afternoon. The next 3 days it's supposed to rain.
Yeah. It's been so dry this year, though. Yeah. We need the rain.
Yeah, really I saw somebody say, I thought I saw some gravel on one of the roads.
Yeah.
Time for some more rain.
Little dust in the air. Oh, man. What a great place to be.
I can grab the computer and run outside if you guys want to see the fall colors of Alaska real quick.
Yeah.
We'll take a peek.
Let's see what it looks like.
See what the trees look like. Oh, there they are.
Lovely.
Pretty green. Not much has changed quite yet, but yeah, it's temperature's about perfect, and we're way into hunting season already. So
yeah, I mean, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. One, September 1, a lot of stuff opened up for you. You did some waterfowl hunting already. I want to ask you what early season waterfowl hunting is like in Alaska. You shot a moose. We're going to talk about that, of course. But I think what I want to ask the most about, Cory, is something I've wanted to do. All those trips to Saskatchewan, and there was gold mines everywhere, and we talked about grabbing a pan and trying to go by a river somewhere and try to pan for gold, and we found old panning pans. What's the word I'm looking for?
Pans. Gold pans.
we found some of them, and there was places where people have done it over there, and we're like, let's just go fishing.
They were probably bedpans.
Yeah.
Dan. Let's just move on from that.
I wasn't there.
Dynamite drop in, Dan.
Thanks.
Between you and your wife, I've seen a lot of stuff on Instagram and, probably Snapchat or wherever of you panning for gold in Alaska, Cory. Have you retired and living the good life now? Are you rich? What's going on?
The first thing about gold panning, you don't talk about gold panning or where you've been gold panning. So,
well, then you probably shouldn't be putting it on Instagram.
Not going to quit my day job, that's for sure. But so our two youngest daughters are homeschooled, or you could call it road schooled, I guess. We travel a lot. So girls are homeschooled, and we're working on units about the tectonic plates and volcanoes and mountains and land formations and glaciers and erosion and rivers and streams and gold deposits and placer gold and gravity and how that gold is formed and where it comes from in the magma, and then how it goes up and comes down over thousands or millions of years. And then the history of the gold mining and operations here in Alaska. And we live really close to the big, huge metropolis of Hope, Alaska, probably hour and 45 minutes away, maybe 2 hours. But at one point in time, if anyone knows Hope, the population is like 35 people or something like that right now. But Hope at one time in the 1900s was larger, founded earlier, and was a lot bigger than Anchorage for quite a few years. It was a booming little city. I don't know the perfect history of Hope and what was going on over there, but around 1903, sometime in there, one guy got a loan from the mercantile here down in Kenai, and he got everything on loan. He didn't give him any money. He got a big dory boat and a bunch of equipment and maybe some help, and then he took off in the boat, and 3 years later he came back with a bunch of gold. He paid off his debt, and then some sneaky people in town found out that he found some gold. So then they followed him out, figured out that he went up to Hope. They go into Hope, and then Matheson was one of the first guys up there after this original guy. And this Matheson found in the same exact area that we were just camping and panning on Resurrection Creek, he found 350 ounces of gold in 60 days. That's over $1 million in today's time in just 2 months. So he hit it rich. He kind of started the gold craze, and people from Seattle and San Francisco and stuff like that heard about it. So they just flooded and flocked up to Hope and Sunshine, whatever, right next to Hope. But so a lot of history in that area. So we went over there to do some homeschooling and learning and gold panning and digging. And by golly, we found a little bit of flood gold in the rivers around there. We tried two different rivers, a few different spots, and ran a ton of buckets of material through the sluice box and found a little bit of gold. So it was fun. It was a good camping trip. Rained the whole time, but we didn't care. We were just hanging out in the river and soaking wet anyway.
Well, what a great way to teach your kids about the world too. What a fun way to do it, man. I wish we never went to a stream in Alaska when I was in school.
I went to a stream in Wisconsin once looking for gold.
Did you find any gold there?
No. It was Crystal Cave. There were no.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No gold.
So yesterday, the girls were over it for sure. They wanted to head home. And I was gold fever, so I just kept on digging. And so we're having them do some work. It's hard work, gold mining. And you're shoveling gravel all the time. And girls were kind of complaining and, we want to go home. I'm like, well, you guys are in school right now. You guys are learning. This is this sucks. We want to go. And I was like, listen, there's millions of other kids out there sitting in a classroom looking out a window saying, man, the only thing I wish I could do is just be outside. And I'm like, look at you guys. You're standing here on this riverbank. The river's just ripping by us, white water everywhere. We're right at the base of this big, huge mountain. There's waterfalls on it, a couple different ones, and it's just fall colors and lush greenery, and it's just like the perfect place. And I was like,
it's amazing.
Quit your whining, get shoveling.
That's hilarious. So you go up there to do that in an area that, had a big gold rush, and it's probably become a big big part of the tourism up there. Was there equipment did you buy equipment? Were you able to borrow some, rent some? What was the deal with getting all the gear you needed to find gold?
Facebook Marketplace, and that would be a good segue into moose hunting, because I found a sluice box on Marketplace for a good deal, and I thought I needed a sluice box, so went down the road to buy this sluice box on opening day of archery moose season, and bought this sluice box from an old timer who was done with it, ready to get rid of it. On my way to his house, I saw this trail, and I thought, I've never been down that trail before. Looks like a moosey area. I'd like to go explore back in there. So I go down, I give the guy some cash, I grab the sluice box, I come back, hit this trail. I'm driving like our little tiny car, which is kind of funny, going moose hunting. Like, I got a sluice, the back seat's big enough for the sluice box and my bow, and that's about it. So
I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah. And I could just barely make it up this entrance to this trail. And
is that the trail that we were talking about, where it was kind of flooded at parts? It was real narrow.
Oh no, that's
something else. All right.
That's a bad one. That's the duck hunt trail. That's a terrible, terrible trail to take a new diesel truck on. 3 hours it took me to get down that trail. This trail is no big deal. I just had to go up the hill. But anyway, buy the sluice box, and had that in the car, and I wanted to go walk this trail, so I jump in, head down this trail. I get down about a mile. It kind of fizzled out. I looked on Onyx, found another trail about 600 yards through the woods. I bushwhacked it over to that trail, prime bear country, and I had got a bow and arrow in my hand, which is just a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Love bow hunting moose, hate bow hunting moose at the same time, but right. Because of the grizzly bears. But found this other trail. I mean, literally just dumb luck, stumbled on this bull, big old bull, full velvet, and opening day of archery season. Couldn't believe my eyes. 65 yards, put the binoculars on him. He's just browsing, nibbling on some brush. I was a little bit late in my interception, so we were kind of crossing paths. I was a little behind him. So I cow called at him, and he took off running a few steps. That was like a Hail Mary. It was definitely not the time to call at moose early, late August. So I cow called at him, and he takes off running, and I was like, well, okay, that didn't work, but he's around here. So I just started trying to sound like a moose, and I started walking towards him because I thought I heard him stop or bulldoze a tree or something. I couldn't figure it out. It's like alder regrowth, so I couldn't see anything. So I started creeping after him, trying to sound like a moose. I gave one more cow call, and I get like 20, maybe 30 more yards through this little opening. I'm kind of hiding behind some trees, and here he is standing 40 yards looking right at me. Like, he button hooked around, and he was coming back kind of downwind to check wind and see what the heck I was. And he was confused, I think. I was at like, what the heck are you doing here? I just thought I heard you run away a half a minute ago. But so yeah, he couldn't figure it out and was eyeing me up. I froze, and then I ranged a tree that he was standing by 40 yards. He turned broadside, walked right in front of that tree. I let an arrow fly, perfect double lung shot. He wheeled around, didn't go far, and it didn't last long. It was great. Just made a super clean shot, clean kill. I did had time to put one more arrow into him. Just if you get the opportunity, you want to do that. It wasn't necessary, but I did anyway. And those 2 shots hit literally like 1.5 or 2 inches apart from each other. So both great shots, and he made quick work of him. And that was it. Like, my moose hunt was over. Very bittersweet, and just a cool time in the woods when you can put that much moose meat in the freezer, with one arrow, like 500 pounds of meat.
It's insane.
And ironically, I had just ate the last, I actually had just skipped the last hamburger because I was moose hunting. Kelsey my wife, she had made moose burgers for supper, and I skipped eating it because I was out moose hunting. So I got back from packing this out at 6 a.m. and had the last of Moose 24 with that one right there on the wall behind me. I had the last of that one the morning that I got back from packing this thing out. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And to have your family out there to help you pack it out too and process it out there, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, the little youngest daughter, Eva, Kelsey said, "Oh, Dad just shot a moose." And they were like, "What the heck? He just left." And she's like, "Yeah, he doesn't joke about this stuff." It's like, he just shot one. And little daughter, she's 7. She's like, "I need to see it." Kelsey's like, "Well, he's going to pack it out. He'll bring it home tomorrow." She's like, "No, I need to see it right now." It's 11 p.m. at this time. We had juggle some things around. And so Kelsey calls me and she's like, "Eva wants to see this moose." Like, she's adamant. I said, "I don't see anything wrong with that. Put some jackets on them kids and get them out in the woods. Let's go. We got moose to pack." Like, all right. So we got the kids out there.
It's not like they had to get up early for the bus the next day.
Is that another school lesson?
No.
Like field trip? Moose pack?
Field trip.
Yeah. Biology?
Got the kids out there and Kelsey, and got to the moose, and they couldn't believe how big it was. And said a prayer over it, said our thanks, and paid as much respect to the animal as we can, and then built a fire for bugs and grizzly bears and warmth and all the things. And the girls stayed awake till like 2:30 or almost 3 in the morning, and then Kelsey wrapped them up in one of the tarps that we brought with, and then they slept by the fire through the rest of the morning while we continued to cut and pack meat, got the meat out of there, and got it home safe at 6 o'clock in the morning or something as the sun was coming up. So it was a special time in the woods. It was a ton of fun.
That's pretty cool. From sluice box to moose box. Getting her done.
Moose in the box. I got him right here. Want to see some fuzzy horns? Show and tell?
Do you want my address to send me some steaks? Send you that. In velvet even. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's cool.
That's awesome.
I think the way that you get the lines through the velvet on a moose rack like that, I think that's one of the coolest things. When I saw a big bull in velvet for the first time up in Saskatchewan, just where you saw like the, I don't know if ripples or the lines, the contours maybe. I thought that was really cool.
I think it looks like a marble cake. Chocolate,
So does it
Growth lines?
taste
I suppose, yeah. Does it taste like a marble cake? Yes.
If somebody's going to try it, it's going to be Cory.
Yep. Oh, man.
That's pretty cool.
Coolest thing about the moose is I was able to get the entire thing out of the woods, completely bone in, just cut up into sections. So I got the whole from neck roast to tail, back straps, inside tenderloins, all of that out in one piece, bone in, and aged it that way. Then I brought that over to the butcher shop, and we ran that through the bandsaw. And so I got bone in T-bones, bone in ribeyes, and they are so amazing. You have to come up here and try one out. I'm not going to mail you one. It'll get lost in the mail. It's precious cargo. So,
all right. How quickly can we get there? We don't need to go to the Aglow conference, do we, Dan?
I've been trying to
Straight
tell
to
you
Alaska.
that all month.
Yeah, let's go.
We've got things to do.
Oh, dang. So, Joe, how you're communicating? I mean, obviously you have a call company. You're used to calling back and forth to critters. How big of a role do you think trying to communicate? Whether you were, I don't know, were you raking trees? Were you making some cow calls? What all were you doing to communicate with that moose?
I cow called at him 2 different times, and it was kind of just a Hail Mary. Right now, September 5 through 20, you probably want to be raking, cow calling, bull grunting quite a bit. I definitely have heard in the last week or so that raking has been very successful in the moose woods, but there is a ton of velvet on these horns, and it's tough stuff. So, I mean, they walk around and rake quite often, quite frequently, and it's both to shine their horns up, and then mating call or dominance call as well, just to display. So, yeah, they're doing a lot of raking and
Rakins.
So rakins. I wasn't raking at the time. This guy had hardly brushed any of the velvet off at all. He hadn't broke through his velvet skin to his horns. They were still soft tipped and stuff like that. So yeah, archery moose season's real early.
I don't want to derail the moose conversation because I do have a couple more questions about that. But when you saw that shopping cart at the intersection and then did 2 different videos, I think I was crying. I was laughing so hard because I mean, just the fact that you did it twice.
There's a long light right here by the house, so I had plenty of time. I missed a couple things in the first take, and I did another take, posted both of them. Whatever.
We think 494 is bad.
That was so funny. Gosh, I laughed. All right. So back to the moose for a second. Now I completely lost my train of thought because I had a question about that. I was going to say, I think moose are crazy to me because I haven't hunted moose. I've been around them. I've been on some moose hunts with some people just a little bit. I've obviously watched a lot of shows, but it's like a lot of times you can call at a moose and then just stay there for a day and then they show up the next day. Like it's the stupidest. They're like, okay, let's just, and then just sit here and they'll show up tomorrow. But I've seen people use like coffee cans. You watch people take like canoe paddles through the tree, like the kind of things that people use to call or attract moose. Kind of creative, and at the same time, I suppose I know moose, their eyesight isn't the greatest, I guess. So if you can kind of try to look like a moose coming through the trees, I suppose it's interesting what people use to hunt moose.
Mm-hmm. I use a shoulder blade, a scapula from last year's moose. I cleaned that up and drilled some holes in it to maybe amplify the sound just a little bit, and I put a piece of paracord on there so I have that scapula around my shoulder, and then I grab a hold of that thing and I rake trees with that, and it sounds really good. It sounds like a moose hitting trees with his horns, and super lightweight. You don't have to. Some people do carry an entire shed with them. I mean, that's just too much, too heavy for me. So scapula is real small and lightweight.
Interesting.
So you were saying going through the woods, you were trying to sound like a moose, so you weren't just sneaking through the trees real quiet like a ninja. Were you just stomping around?
Moose aren't too loud, actually. They're but they just like footsteps, the way that they walk. I was trying not to walk like a human. I was trying to just the timing of my footsteps and some walking and some pausing, and they do a lot of standing and a lot of eating. I mean, they make all of those beautiful back straps and 500 pounds of protein out of willow leaves and willow bark and alder leaves. I mean, it's a it's a magical thing, but boy, you got to run some vegetables through that gut in order to turn it all into that backstrap. So they just eat. I don't think they sleep ever. They just eat all the time.
So you try to walk like somebody coming out of the Wheel and Mill River at the end of Goose Fest, basically. That's what you're saying.
Your head on a few trees.
So you're walking around there in bear country, and then you bring your whole family out there to field dress this moose, pack it out. I'd assume at that point you had a little maybe more firepower on you at that point. I mean, did you see any bears around?
No bears. And I went back the next day to look for some arrows and ravens. There wasn't anything to clean up for guts and any viable foodstuffs left in the woods at all. I mean, I'm very selfish with my animals, so I'm sure the ravens were like, "Oh yeah, gut pile," and they were like, "What the heck? Who is here? God dang it!" Cussing me out. But so yeah, the ravens, like the stomach itself was the only thing left. They ate the stomach lining, and then the stomach contents were there on the ground 24 hours later, and that was it. So no bears hit the gut pile whatsoever. We didn't see any bears that night, and I found one arrow out of the two, and that was it. Like I took everything out of there. If you want to know, I even took the nose and the face and all that stuff off of there, and put that all in the crock pot, softened it up, ran it through the meat grinder, and made dog food out of all that stuff. So yeah, that's what Rue's been eating is moose nose, cartilage, glucosamine, and chondroitin, chock full of vitamins.
Yeah, well, and I know in Alaska, you're supposed to take at least everything that's edible, right? So I mean, that's part of the way the regulations work up there, and it sounds like you went even above and beyond that, which is awesome. Use as much as possible. That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. I noticed you did some duck hunting so far up there this year as well. Your favorite, some brown ducks it looked like, but you were shooting some mallards. How's the waterfowl season been for you so far up there, Cory?
The migration has been off to kind of a late start up here. The weather's been very mild. We haven't had a frost yet. We haven't even dipped down into the 30s much really at all. So the little goose migration is pretty slow. We didn't see too many geese, and they were 2 or 3 miles away from us out on the flats. And we did see some teal, and we saw some puddle ducks, some widgeon, mallard pintails, and shot some mallards. But yeah, very dry summer up here. So saw probably 1/5 or 1/10 of the birds that are normally around there. So kind of off to a little bit of a slow start until we get some colder weather and get some birds pushing in here, and then it should pick up pretty good. But
sounds familiar.
Duck hunting stuff in Alaska can be very wild, very rugged. It took I drove down the road about 30 miles from my house and then turned off onto a trail, and then I needed to go 30 miles down that trail, and there was the first about 5 or 6 miles that was pretty good, and then after that it was 4-wheel drive in first or second gear for the last 25 miles. It took me 3 hours to drive down the trail. I was pushing water with the headlights multiple times, and I started the chainsaw 6 times to get in to cut trees. Beetle kill pines are tipping over, have been dead for quite a while, and they're tipping over, so they block the trail all the time. Anytime there's a wind, they're falling over left and right. So yeah, it took me a while to get in there, and camped out with a buddy of mine, and we just hunted with our dogs for a few days way back in the middle of nowhere. Didn't see anyone. Actually, a bush pilot landed on the airstrip that we were next to, and he just came walking into camp, and it was perfect timing for him because we had just cooked up all the ducks that we shot that day. And we had so much meat and fed him, and he just stopped in, ate, and took off. So that was kind of cool. Just a quick little visitor out in the middle of nowhere.
What was he landing for? What, he just needed a break, stretch his legs, saw the fire?
Yeah, he saw the airstrip multiple times flying over it, had never landed there, so he buzzed us a few different times checking it out, checking out his approach, and then touched down and just came walking up. But yeah, I mean, bush planes are like, I don't know, a very common mode of transportation up here in Alaska, so it's just like someone driving a minivan around pretty much. They're all over the place, so that's the easiest way to get to this spot. Beats a 5-minute flight, beats a 3-hour car ride down.
So when we talk to Cory this time next year, what are the odds that he's got a plane?
I was just going to say, are you working on a pilot's license right now?
No.
What?
I'm way too daring and stupid for one of those. No. I would die immediately. I would ride with. I have friends that have planes, and I'll just go for a ride. But myself, nope. Not the right brain. Not the pilot's type of brain.
Well, well, you're living the life up there, man. I've seen you doing some pretty cool stuff between boats and planes and whatever in the backcountry and hunting and fishing. It's pretty neat. But I want to talk about Minnesota just for a second. I know you've been gone for a couple of years, but you spent a lot of time hunting in northern Minnesota, and the big discussions here, the hot topics lately, whether or not we should continue an early teal season, and if our population, the overall waterfowl population drops below a certain threshold and our pond counts drop below a certain threshold, our framework for the Central or Mississippi Flyway may drop into a liberal, or from a liberal framework to a restrictive framework. If we do that, it'd be a 30-day 3-duck bag limit here in Minnesota, and a 39-day in the Central Flyway. What are your thoughts on? I know you're a huge early teal guy. What are your thoughts on early teal? And then if we were to go to a 30-day season in Minnesota, because I want to ask somebody that lives in the north, because we're basically in the south. I mean, it's kind of central south here in Minnesota, and we like, hunting in November. About northern Minnesota, what would it be like if you had a 30-day season in Minnesota, the northern zone? When would you want to see that?
Oh, for ducks and geese?
I think it'd just be for ducks mostly.
For ducks, a 30-day duck season, the month of October, I guess, would have to be it. That's when you're going to see the most birds, I would think. But I don't enjoy chasing ducks early on. Too many mosquitoes and gnats. Rue got bit up by gnats the other day. The same temperatures up here in Alaska as it was in Minnesota. Rue got all bit up by gnats. They were inside of her ears, and they got all swollen. And I would much rather chase those big, fat greenheads once they've got some good fat on them later in the season versus that early season. There's just no fat. The fat is where the flavor is at, and I'm all about eating them. So I want to hunt when the eating is the best. Those Canada geese, early season honkers, are tons of fun to shoot, but boy, they're pretty tough to make tasty. When you start talking a December, January, February, March honker, that's where the flavor's at. Those are good. So
love shooting those March honkers.
Hey, if you know where to go.
Yeah, you just gotta go to the right place.
There's a spot. There's a spot. 8-bird bag limit.
Is it 8?
8.
Is that what you said?
I'm pretty positive 8. Yep, and the license is free. So.
All right.
If you know where to go, there's a side of cormorants not too far away too.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna need a lot of fat to make them taste good.
I'd be willing to try it. Hey, speaking of that, Cory, I wanted to ask you: is this the time of year where mallards in Alaska taste like salmon eggs? aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They will for a long time,
Really?
actually. Depends on where you shoot them. The ones that we shot were really good. They were grassy flats birds, but then if you go hunt the flats of like right close to the house here, the Kenai River Flats or the Kasilof River Flats, Thomas Hoke would be the duck flavor expert, and he will tell you like the percentage base of edible versus real damn fishy flavored ducks. I think it is every single teal. 100% of teal are awesome, and I want to say he said that 50% of mallards are good and 50 are fishy, and maybe similar to pintails. Boy, I can't remember. I think most pintails are pretty good, but Thomas would be the one to talk to about that. He's got it all figured out.
It's interesting.
So, mallards, half and half. But I did shoot the absolute biggest mallards I've ever seen in my life, not too far away from here in Alaska, right about Halloween or about November 2nd last year. Massive, just huge. There's real cold weather, late freeze up mallards hanging around here. That's like the only thing that's left, and they were huge. So if you want a trophy bird, that's the biggest mallards I've ever seen in my life.
I'm going to see if I can. I shot one a couple of years ago here in Minnesota. I think something was wrong with it. I'm going to try to find the picture while we talk about something else in the meantime. But it was it was huge.
A half farm duck.
Well, I don't know. I tried to get them mounted, and Jessica, my taxidermist, is like, I opened this thing up and it's disgusting. Like there was something going on with this thing. But it was giant. It was banded. It was banded in Kentucky, actually.
Whoa. That explains it.
Yeah.
Was it a popcorn duck? Was it a city park duck that got fed bread and popcorn?
Too much KFC.
What year was that? I got to go back a few years for that one. It was pretty cool. It was huge. In any case, but I'm just basically talking to Stahl right now while I look for this picture. Not adding anything valuable to the conversation.
That's all right.
I wanted to bring up your calls real quick, Cory, because we just put out this film. It's labeled as Waterfowl Hunt of a Lifetime, I think, on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, you made it.
I did, but it's called Poplar Grove, the Lost Farm in Saskatchewan. But for YouTube purposes, you have to give it a clickbaity name these days. So that's what it's got, and you can hear a couple of moments in there. You know, in the fall in Saskatchewan, you can run an e-collar when it's just snow geese coming in. You have to turn it off if there's any ducks or darks coming. But so we ran an e-collar a lot, but at a couple of moments we had some different birds flying around, so we had to resort to using, mouth calls. We've got that no-deck snow. Oh, here it is right here. I'm going to send you this, Dan. That snow call, we've killed so many snow geese by running a mouth call out there, and I don't think people realize just how effective a snow goose mouth call can be.
You weren't supposed to talk about that. That's top secret information.
That's a secret.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, here we are.
This just got awkward.
Oh gosh. No, the no-deck snow, super effective during the spring season in the United States when you can use e-collars, and Canada you can use e-collars all the time. But yeah, to single out those ones and twos and communicate directly with them, it's extremely effective because you can point the sound at the bird the whole time as the bird's swinging around circling, and you can never lose that or break that communication. Where if you have an e-collar and that speaker is just pointed in one direction, you imagine how weird that sounds to a bird as they're circling your spread, and they circle around and it gets super, super loud, and then it just fades away into nothing. And that's when you'll typically lose those birds, and you just kind of see them lose interest because their perceived volume of the flock on the ground, your decoys just, dropped drastically, almost to nothing, or maybe they can't hear it at all. So like when they get in front of the speakers, they look like they're real excited and going to come in and do it, and then they just kind of fizzle out into nothing. Where if you have that mouth call, you can point it right at them and direct that sound to them, communicate directly with them, and then break down those singles and pairs, and they'll pull in the bigger flocks and hopefully create a big spin. So absolutely a game changer, if you will, to add that to the arsenal. So drccalls.com, the Nodex, get one now, don't starve.
There you go. I was hunting, I'm not going to use his name, but I was hunting with a kind of a big time snow goose hunter. And it was a big group, and I think you were probably there too, David. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. Anyway,
it helps to tell the story before you ask if somebody was there or not.
There was like 12 of us, 15 of us. I can't remember. We shot 130 birds. I don't know. It was a big hunt. It was a good one, and it was the first time. I'll give this guy credit because it was the first time I'd seen somebody have one of his speakers right next to him, and then he would use it directionally, and he would point it at the big flocks when they were coming in. So when they'd spin over to the side, he'd hit them and he'd kind of follow the flock with the sound, which I thought was kind of smart. So, just like every other waterfowl hunter now, I'm sitting there with my phone, Snapchatting it. And afterwards, he accused me of recording his sounds so I could steal them and put them in my e-collar, which I thought was hilarious. Because I get all my e-collar sounds from Snapchats that I
great audio quality
on hunts.
What do you know about audio?
Just looking at my notes right here, that's actually the very first documented drama in snow goose hunting ever. That's crazy.
Say, this doesn't narrow down who it is at all, because it could be any snow goose guide ever. Because
oh gosh,
I was there. Yes,
that was classic. Man, I mean, and that wasn't even fun. I mean, we shot a lot of birds, but anytime, for me, that's too many people
it was
in a
pretty
spread
busy.
for one thing. And then it's just like, it was a spring hunt, so it was all tubes. So there was literally 100 shots going off at every flock. Unless David was there, so 150.
Yeah.
Probably. But I don't know. It's just too much. And then just drama. Gosh, I don't want to get into waterfowl drama, but it was funny. Cory, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I was doing a little bit of research about waterfowl research and how game managers do waterfowl counts and surveys and stuff like that. And I was reading this article on the Mossy Oak website, and I won't mention the writer's name because I'm going to trash him a little bit. But he said hunters in general can be complainers, especially when it comes to seasons and bag limits. They say things like, the season's too short, or it starts too late, or they don't let us take enough. The one exception seems to be waterfowlers. More than any other faction of hunters, they seem willing to accept what they're allowed with little complaint or questioning. Does he know any duck hunters? Huh? I mean, tell me you don't know or are around any waterfowl hunters in today's world without telling me you're not around any waterfowl
Just
hunters.
open Facebook.
Yeah,
you don't have to look too hard to find waterfowl drama.
Yeah, just type in the words Minnesota waterfowlers on Facebook.
That's one of the reasons why we stopped going to game fair, because there was so much waterfowl drama with everybody around there, all the little cliques and whatever. And this year was fun. We were there this year though, and it was everybody seemed to kind of. Maybe I'm one of the cool kids now. I don't know.
Everybody got along.
I don't know. It was good. No, definitely not. Yeah, I know. Oh, man. All right. Cory.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, whatever. It was fun. I had a great time. We went to some after parties, and everybody was pretty cool for the most part. I shouldn't even tell this story. Well, I think I told this story. We were talking to somebody, and he's like, "Oh, you do a podcast?" And this is before we changed the name of the podcast.
This is why we changed the name.
Yeah, we had the name change in the works for a long time, but he's like, "Oh, what's your podcast?" And I said, "Oh, it's Sporting Journal Radio." And he goes, "Oh, okay." It's only been going for 12 years, and on 30 radio stations. Oh, so what you guys talk about like football and baseball and stuff?
Nope. I think I got a text immediately afterwards that said, all right, we need to do the name change next week.
It's happening right now. Next week. Name change.
Here we go.
So anyway. All right, Cory, we'll let you get back at her.
You want to know something stupid I did the other day?
Yes.
New
Yes,
discovery with that harlot duck call. I was in a pinch and I needed a predator call because I wanted to shoot a brown bear with my bow, and I wanted to call one in, so I grabbed that harlot duck call that we've got.
I mean, we've all been there.
Cool little design, and I cut the reed off short, about eighth of an inch, eighth of an inch, quarter inch shorter than like mallard size, mallard length reed, and ripped on that thing, and it was like perfect. Like I could put a lot of pressure into it and hit some cottontail sounds. I could back off and hit some raspy jackrabbit type sounds, and then kind of echoed it. And I wanted to create something that was maybe like black bear cub / jackrabbit. I don't know, just something real pleading and real, I don't know. Real
distressed
nasty sounding, and very distressed sounding. And yeah, it was great. I walked out into the woods along this very highly populated brown bear area on a stream that should have had silver salmon spawning in it, and climbed a tree and ripped on that thing for a while. Didn't call any brown bears in that time, but 2 days before that, we called a giant one in, and we were on a boat in some, some tall grass, and we couldn't see over the grass, and this thing came running, screaming in to like 40 yards. And meanwhile, I was like outside of the boat with the canoe paddle, just thrashing water, sounding like something struggling in the water. And then the guys were in the front of the boat. They had guns. I was just hoping that I wasn't going to die or get jumped on, because I was like below the river. I was below the bank, right? So I'm like looking up at this bear trail. And I was like, if one shows up right there, it's going to be real quick. But so anyway, we had fun. I live to tell about it. But yeah, that bear just, the grass was too tall. So no shots were fired. He came in to about 40 yards. Winded us, and then turned and burned it up the hill, and just saw a brown chunk of fur his butt as he was kind of screaming up the hill. It was very heavily wooded, heavy grassed. But in the meantime, there was a ton of mallards in that specific spot. So probably going to go back there real soon, and I don't know, maybe sneak in, do a little bear calling, climb a tree. If that works or doesn't work, get down, throw some decoys out, do some duck hunting. I mean, that's the beauty of Alaska. It's like, well, what should we chase today? I don't know. I got like a pocket full of tags, and there's stuff everywhere. So we'll just go for a boat ride and be gone all day, or for 2 or 3, and we'll come back later maybe and see if we got supper or if we were supper. Whatever. That's it. So it's fun.
Well, I know you have no reason to leave, but if you want to take that highway out of Alaska into Canada and join us in Saskatchewan, we'll be up there here soon, and you can come jump in and shoot some snow geese with us. Just don't record my e-collar sounds, please. Whatever you do.
I'm flying into MSP on Sunday at 2:00, so we'll see you there.
Well, what the heck?
A couple weeks.
All right.
Elk hunting, Montana.
Good reason.
Yep.
Leaving Alaska. Oh, gosh, I got to leave Alaska. Where are you going? Montana. I'm going elk hunting.
With Jordan Cody.
Oh, nice.
One of the best humans ever right there.
You'll have no fun.
I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Well, good luck with that. Safe travels, and don't get eaten by a bear up there. Cory Loeffler, DRC Call Company. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
There we go.
Nice.
It's an awesome experience.
Fishing was really good. We got in a super monster bite.
That is a great way to start the trip off right there.
Tasman Lake is one of the places that has been on my bucket list for a long time, and watched every Tasman TV episode there is.
Incredible, incredible to see fish like that. Incredible to, fish water where you have the chance to catch fish like that.
Danny, that's the biggest trout you'll ever fight in your life.
Wow, this is a nice one.
Watch Tasman TV and book your trip at TasmanLake.com.
Time to head up to Lake of the Woods to check in with Joe Henry at the walleye, perch, crappie, and muskie capital of the world. Lake of the Woods. Joe Henry, how's it going?
You forgot sturgeon?
Oh yeah.
You got pike?
And so, well, of
Did
course,
you say double perch?
I don't even remember.
It's bass.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Bass.
Smallies. No, I tell you,
the
it's been
sauger capital of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Or the sucker capital of the world.
How about eel pout? We're coming up to the winter. How about eel pout?
The state record. Yep, absolutely.
Two or three times over. Absolutely. I think right now it's about 19.5 pounds is the state record.
It's crazy.
Whitefish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lake trout.
Going. Lake trout. Jeez.
Suckers, bullheads.
Bullheads.
It's got it all.
We're missing beer.
Obviously, the south end of the lake and the Rainy River, great place to catch walleyes as well as some of those other fish. And it sounds like, Joe, the fishing has been good. Northwest angle, you get a little bit more variety up there.
You do. It's for listeners, if you don't know of the angle, that's that little tip of Minnesota that sticks up into Canada. When you look at a map of Minnesota, that little tip looks like a chimney almost of Minnesota sticks up, and that's really the northwest angle. And it's the northernmost point of the contiguous U.S. It's where the 14,552 islands of Lake of the Woods begin, and because of those islands, it's much more of a glacial area where there's islands, but rock,
it's Canadian Shield country.
Points.
Yeah.
Oh, it's what?
Canadian Shield country.
Canadian Shield country. Yes, absolutely it is. And there's, between the structure, points, neck down areas where there's moving water, sunken islands, transition areas from sand to rock or perhaps rock to mud. There's just so much. And when you figure there's 65,000 miles of shoreline on Lake of the Woods, over 14,000 islands. When you get up to that northwest angle area, you can always duck behind an island if it's a windy day. There is just so much good structure to fish. And, really a lot of the spots that you would think there might be fish, most of the time there is. So there's so many spots to fish, and there's just so many fish. It's like a nursery up there. All this structure and all the good spots and all the shoreline just really is conducive to growing a lot of fish. And then, of course, the multi-species. We always talk walleyes, and it's the walleyes are going nuts up at the northwest angle in the fall. They are right now. But then we kind of shift over and you realize that, hey, there's actually a lot of groups that will target the northwest angle. Yep, they like their walleyes, but really they're after these big black crappies, or maybe they're after muskies. The muskies in the fall about Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods is a muskie trophy fishery, and there's a lot of muskie anglers that come up all year long to Lake of the Woods. You get into the fall, now water starts cooling, we get the shorter days. Those muskies really turn on, and some anglers are casting for them. As we get later into October, a lot of people will just troll shorelines, trolling those points and things like that, and they do very, very well just pulling either cranks or spinners for those muskies.
So, Joe, when we filmed up there last winter, and we caught some really nice perch, and we've been hearing stories about really nice perch getting caught all winter long up at the angle last year. And we were kind of debating on what was going on. And, it was a tough year for ice the year before, so maybe there was a little bit less fishing pressure. Well, from then until now, there's been, the usual amount of fishing pressure up there, and the perch fishing is still pretty good. So what's going on up there?
Yeah, I never really thought it was about the fishing pressure. I think it's just, sometimes population levels based on spawning and forage in the lake and other biological factors, sometimes populations of fish ebb and flow. And it just so happens that right now we have a really, really strong population of jumbo perch in our lake, and we're catching them all over the place. We're catching them in all parts of the lake, and they're going to show up again this year ice fishing. Once we hit that ice in December, they're going to be there, and it's going to be it's always fun because you're catching your walleyes and your saugers. Once in a while you get a needle pout, once in a while you get a pike, and then you're getting your jumbo perch mixed in. And as you know from last year, you set the hook on one of those big jumbos, and you think it's a nice walleye, and then you get it up and you see the green with the orange and stripes come up, and you grab that thing out of that hole fast as you can because a lot of those fish easily could go on a wall.
Yeah, bonus fish. And I remember we filmed it. We did a Prairie Sportsman episode and one for the Fish on Forever YouTube channel. We had Jen Pudence up there too. And she was screaming a couple of times when she saw, I might have screamed once or twice too when I saw these giant perch coming out of the ice because they were huge. And I remember at one point,
live footage of Bret.
At one point we doubled up. And, I saw them on the live scope and they were both pretty big marks and we hooked into both of them. And I can't remember, one was a walleye and one was a perch in any case. And I thought for sure they were both going to be walleyes coming up just based on the fact that they were together and they were both pretty big on the live scope. And one of them was a perch. So the one of the ones that she caught literally was like a rectangle. The thing was so fat. It was just tall all the way down to the tail. It was a huge fish.
We had Ray Ruiz with us as well, and Ray was getting all fired up about the perch.
Oh yeah,
remember the picture I think in front of the fish house where he had like 4 perch, he had 2 in each hand, and he was holding them out, and they almost looked like they weren't real. But isn't it cool how those perch too? They get those shoulders when they get big. You notice that?
Oh yeah.
Humpback.
They get real tall, and sometimes it's deceiving because that one that Jen caught that was so big. I think it might only been 12 and a half inches, but I thought it was a 14 all day long, just based on how tall it was.
So,
it was so
thick. Well, the other thing that's kind of cool right now too is we're talking a lot about the Northwest angle. It's such a fun time to go in the fall. We'll be fishing up there through October, obviously, but right now on the South Shore, Bret. Fishing's just been on fire in that 22 to 29 feet of water, 27 being kind of a magic mark this week. Out in front of Pine Island, Morris Point, Zipple Bay, Long Point, there's nice pods of walleyes all the way through there. And boy, boats have been going out, anglers have been going out this week and jigging over the side of the boat, vertical jigging with a jig and a frozen emerald shiner. And this has been whacking fish like crazy. It's just been stupid good. And, lots and lots of fish being caught, a lot of nice fish being caught, a lot of those slot fish that are that 19 and a half to 28 fish, and certainly some trophies too, but really a lot of eaters that you're going to get more than enough eaters. You have to throw fish back typically. And then you get some of those nice slot fish, which, hey, it's always nice to get a picture of a 24, 25, 26 inch walleye and release it and watch it swim away too.
We've talked about everything but the one part of that water complex up there that a lot of people head towards this time of year. We're talking about mid-September because of the Shiner run, and that's the Rainy River. How many minnows are in that river right now, Joe?
Yeah, there's some Shiners moving in. It's not hot and heavy yet, and I think it's probably because of the warm weather, would be my guess. I don't know that, but it's usually they starting to come in early September, and they did this year. They started coming in, so we have more walleyes in the river that followed them, but it's not yet that big hot and heavy run where you're seeing huge schools of Shiners at night on the end of the docks under those dock lights. And then, you're hearing splashing going on because there's so many walleyes in the system. It usually happens every year. It's always kind of hit and miss on when that happens, but it's in September and in October. And there'll be different waves of Shiners that move up that river from the lake throughout the fall. So we're right in the heart of it right now. And, I know there's more activity than there was in the river for walleyes right now because people are catching them. But the bite has been so good out on the lake that most anglers are heading out to the lake initially if the weather's decent. And then, if it's a little bit windy or they just want to fish closer shore, or some people just love the river because it's so darn beautiful and it's relaxing. They'll just go in the river and, pick away at their walleyes there too.
I know you're basically Canada up there, and we're almost southern Minnesota, so it's almost like being in a different geographical area. I mean, it is, I guess, in a sense, but it's felt like July lately. Other than the 2 days that we had for the teal opener, whatever, it's been real hot. So, I mean, are you seeing some changes in water temperatures? That's probably what is going to start to really kickstart this fall transition time, is some drop in water temps, and you probably haven't had anything too dramatic yet.
We haven't, no. You know, we can watch the Lake of the Woods wave buoys. We have, you know, for listeners, we have wave buoys out on Lake of the Woods now, so you can see, you know, 4 or 5 miles offshore what the waves are doing out there. So you have a better understanding of, you know, where you should go fishing based on the boat you have. But in addition to telling you how big the waves are, it tells you which direction the waves are coming from, and it tells you what the water temperature is at that wave buoy, surface water temperature.
Okay.
So you can go on the Lake of the Woods MN.com and look up wave buoys. We have icons on the top and bottom of our homepage of our website, and if you click on that, it'll tell you basically in real time. Usually it's about maybe a 1 hour delay, but it'll tell you what it is. Right now, Brett, the water temp was down around it had gotten as low as 60, but actually I thought the last time I checked it was like 62 or 63, and that's simply because of the warm weather we've been having, which has been holding, you know, those water temperatures instead of those temps going down.
All right, I'm on the website. Oh, wave buoys right there, right at the top of the page. And then you click on one of the buoys? No, where's it at here?
You click on, you just go scroll down below the picture.
There it is. Okay.
And then you're going to see the graphs. And then if you go to the very end line of that graph, if you'd put your cursor on the end line, and it tells you exactly what time it was last read, and it tells you what the water temperature is.
Where's the water temp?
The water is 71 degrees. So that look how that water temperature went up in the last within the last day. That water temp went up how many degrees? I think it went up about 9 degrees for surface water temp.
64.
Well, no, 7 degrees. It was down to 64 and then went up to 71. In fact, you can tell it's consistent because look at Big Traverse East at the top. You're looking at Big Traverse West. If you go up top, that one did the same thing.
How much cooler it is, though. But
wow,
I wonder what the wind wind's probably pushing some warmer water away or you know, into the west, or pushing cooler water to the east or something, whatever the wind direction is.
You're probably right about that. It's probably the way the wind direction was and what's stirring that, what's pushing that way.
Yeah.
But then you can see like the height. So if you look at the height right now in Big Traverse East, and that buoy is located about 4.5 miles northeast of Zipple Bay. So right out there right now, the last reading was at 2 p.m. 1400 is 2 p.m. Right? You can see that the wave max, the biggest wave at that time was 0.8 feet. So actually, really, really nice fishing right now.
Well, let's go.
What's the what's the DERP? The Big Traverse Bay.
That's you.
DERP. Peak wave direction coming from, because if you look at the very end of that, it drops straight down, and that's the same time that water temp drop shoots way up. So I'm guessing things calmed down and the sun came out.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yep, that's probably why I went through. If you go to the very end, what does it say right now? Because obviously there's not very big waves. So it's from basically 11 degrees. So that's basically north, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yes. Let's go with that. I don't know my degree.
Science.
Direction.
You figure it's 360 degrees, right?
180
it starts at 0 and goes all the way around to 360.
So a little northeast, mostly north.
Yep, from the northeast, yep.
Yeah.
Follow the science.
I just like to go by N and E and S.
And the little arrow is
NW. I don't have to use the numbers.
In Garmin we trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that kind of fun though? Look at that information.
It is, and
interesting.
I will say, since I was using my Garmin InReach, even my, I guess on my boat, my Garmin, I've used the directional with the numbers. I guess I've used that a little bit on there too, but most of the time it's what letter is it?
With how far your boat goes offshore, I don't think you need to worry about numbers.
No
directions.
No.
I think you need to worry about seeing that street lamp.
If you're going out fishing right now, you know, you never know, right? If you're back in a harbor, if you're in the Rainy River, if you're at a harbor on the south shore of the lake, where you're at and what you see right there and what's going on 4.5 miles offshore can be drastically different, right? It's big water. And it really gives you a good understanding of what the waves are doing and which direction they're coming from, which then enables you with that information to make better decisions about where you want to fish. Part of it could be safety. Part of it could be just comfort. Hey, if there's bigger waves out there, I don't want to sit and bob around today. I just feel like going in the river. Or if it's half footers like there was today, I think the waves are 0.8 feet maybe. That's what a nice little chop. Let's just go out there and spot lock and let's jig up some walleyes,
I think those buoys are a great idea, and it is fun just to look at it like we just did, and then have you kind of break down what some of that stuff means for somebody that hasn't really looked at it before, and start seeing numbers and things like that. It's pretty interesting, and I think it's a very handy tool for anglers out there. So, Joe, if people want to plan a trip this fall, this winter, or find those wave buoys and all that information, what should they do?
It's all on our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thanks for listening to the Fish Hunt Forever show. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get podcasts or watch on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review. Find past shows, articles, news about regulations, and more at fishhuntforever.com.